So, question here. What happens when one of our most successful cricket players and a fashion and beauty blogger partner up? The original blogger, I'm going to call her. Well, you get a power couple. And that's right. Joining us in studio this morning is Aisha Baker and Waleed Wayne Parnell as we get to chat about life in lockdown. And who's the better chef as well in the kitchen, and then raising their gorgeous, unbelievably beautiful baby boy, Khalid, who has curls to die for. Guys, welcome to it.
Hi.
So good to see you, man.
Nice to see you
Good to
too.
see you.
There were a ton of questions I wanted to ask. The first question I have to ask is, do you plan your outfits? Who plans the outfits before you do?
I chose an outfit
is-
today, but actually he plans my outfit sometimes. Yeah, Wayne's very
My
stylish.
advice. I wouldn't say that I.
Well,
I
all
would
his
plan.
advice
I
starts with
just-
sneakers, babe, and then a cap, and I'm like, wow.
You've got to work your way
Anything
up,
in
man.
between, yeah.
Exactly, man. So cool to connect with you. Obviously, I've connected with you in a sporting arena over many years and have watched your career just hit such an amazing trajectory. I've got to ask, how do your two worlds collide? Because you are the original. I think you're probably one of the most successful, but you were the first to kind of break the trend of being a blogger, of being an online influencer, if you will, in the country. You've obviously played in just about every format of cricket that's available. At what point did these two worlds intersect? How did you guys meet?
So, Zureda Jardine actually set us up on a blind WhatsApp. She was like convinced that I needed to have a boyfriend. She was like, you need to meet someone. And I was like, I'm not interested. Anyway, and then I messaged her and I was like, oh, the guy you posted in a U magazine article. It's like, oh, the guy you posted is very cute. She's like, I'm setting you up. And I was like, oh, God. And she made a WhatsApp group chat and left the chat. So we were like left alone, and then we started chatting and we decided to meet up.
Was it instant?
It was.
For me, yes.
For her, it was, yeah. For me, I think I was in a phase where I was kind of just drifting a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think as time sort of got, I was like, this girl is like very interesting. There's something different about her.
Thanks.
And then I think that was probably the main thing that, like, she was always like in the back of my mind, you know what I mean? So.
And of course, you could go online and learn everything
and
about
you
her
just
as well.
see, yeah. And then it's just sort of grown from there.
Yeah.
And just learning about her, and I think she's brought out a lot in me.
I like this
And that's
conversation.
no, that's honestly, like, people always be like, yeah, you know, like, what is it like or whatever. But I think the nicest thing for me is that she's taught me a lot about myself and things that were sort of like kept inside because of the industry that I was in.
For sure.
You know what I mean? And you had to, like, come on.
Will you marry me?
I mean, even through lockdown, you didn't learn this about him, guys. Come on, man. So you guys obviously then decided to take the leap back in 2016. Beautiful ceremony that was, again, kind of caught the attention, the romance of it, I think, had us all captured. Married life is a very different prospect. What has that been like for the two of you?
I love being married, but it's very different being married to an athlete. And I chat about this a little bit on my podcast because we've done a little chat from there.
Yeah.
It's different being married to an athlete because it's very much a divide and conquer. So it's like when it's his season, it's his time, and I'm like the supporting act. Yeah. So I'll be like supporting him, and then when he's off, he supports me. So it's like a weird like 50-50 split kind of thing. So that is different. And then obviously we've had a lot of time. This is the first year we've ever been together for a full year.
I know, but lockdown gave us that. I mean, now we can, in retrospect, look back and say, OK, this was an advantage, this was a silver lining.
So that we never had before. We'd always be apart. Now we're like together all the time.
So you've been secretly celebrating this whole time, like...
It's really been good for our family because I can't even think the like longest stretch that we've had together.
No, I think
it
maybe
must have been like maybe
3 or 4 months.
If that.
Yeah, maybe 5.
Is that good for a relationship to have that? Because you have clear roles and you know then have to learn how to support each other. Can it make or break a relationship, do you think?
I think in retrospect, well, we were saying this the other day, in retrospect, the distance is not good for a marriage or a partnership because there's a lot of miscommunication. So obviously, even with raising our son, like I'm doing things that maybe he wouldn't want. You know, you would want certain things done, and I'm... Yeah, so it's like one person's making all the decisions, and then when he comes in, it's like, oh, well, why is his bedtime at 7? It should be at 8 or whatever. Or we need more routine, and I'm like, oh, well, we just go with the flow type of thing. So I think it's not necessarily the best thing, and I think going forward, we'll definitely try and be together all the time, because now we haven't even fought. It's so weird. We usually fight so much.
Like learning, I think it's about learning from each other, basically. I think... the way it was before is like, I know that I'm only going to be here for a short time and then I'm going to go away and then they'll either come join me or I'll come back. But now, like, being together, it's about, okay,
Now
this
you're
is
hooked.
how Aisha operates, you know what I mean? And I
Learned each
think it's
other's
been,
strengths and
yeah,
weaknesses.
it's been really cool.
Because
Actually.
surely you would have needed more support now through lockdown, having to kind of put the brakes on playing. You must be going out of your mind, man.
It's been very difficult, but I think having Aisha and Khalid there has been awesome. And I think that's really helped me through it. I think mentally and obviously being physically active all the time, you know, having those first few weeks where we literally couldn't leave your property. That was very, very difficult.
Doing laps in your driveway, yeah.
And then having Khalid skipping with me. So it was really fun bonding with them. I think, like we obviously mentioned, you know, not having spent a lot of time together, but those first few weeks were interesting because it was so different because we were like in each other's faces like every single day, the whole day.
And finding out each other's strengths. I don't know if you guys found this, but you find out very quickly, like in that first 3 months of lockdown, we were like, right, clearly you do not function with a routine. That's me. I'm so not. I'm terrible. I do like routines like the worst
the same.
thing
She
for
hates
me.
change, and I'm like, yeah, whatever, man, just chill.
I'm go with the flow. He's like, we eat breakfast at 7, and please do not eat breakfast at 7:15 because it messes with me. So like we learned that about each other.
Yeah.
We need routine and structure. We had like a quarantine schedule of like different roles. I like lists, but I never follow.
But that's quarantine on a different level.
It was like, why do we need a list? Can we just remember we need to wake up at 7?
You moved as well. What was that process like? Because that'll also break you.
Crazy.
Crazy. I lost 2 weeks of my life.
I hate moving.
Yeah, I lost 2 weeks. We lost 2 weeks of our lives. I'm like, what happened in the last 2 weeks? Like,
And they do say
I think
it's like one of the most
levels
stressful things
changed
that
and we
you can
didn't
go
even
through.
know.
I ended up in hospital injuring my back during a move. Like, it really will make or break you. Do you guys, now, with everything that you've learned through this process, are you conscious of feeding into your relationship? Are there words that you live by? Maybe this is something that you haven't yet shared with each other, but are there things, mantras that you kind of repeat yourself, this is what I need to do?
For me, I don't know if it's... No, not communication. I think just with the whole pandemic and, you know, a lot of people dying, I think it's important to tell people that you love them and that you appreciate them and, you know, things that they do. So whether it's physically telling or if I'm driving somewhere and I stop or I get to training, I'll quickly just text them and say, you know what, I really appreciate everything that you do for myself and Khalid. Thank you for maybe looking after the house, you know, little things like that. And I think out of all the bad, you have to take some good stuff as well. And I think for me personally, that's been my like go-to thing that I've taken.
Yeah, saying I love you. I'm quite a big I love you person anyway.
Yeah.
I'm like,
The world
I actually
needs
even
more
ask
love,
that.
man, now more than ever.
I always say to him, I'm like, tell me you love me. And he's like, I love you. I'm like, okay, thanks.
Well, you know how you express love? You get in the kitchen and you cook for someone, okay? And that's one of the newer skills that you've introduced online. So I'm desperate to know how they will stand up in the kitchen. Who is the better cook? Can we believe anything that we see online? We'll find out all about that next.